Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.
This is Colin McGuigan for IFLTV. Delighted to be joined by Frank Smith in Carson, Los Angeles, California. Frank, it's probably been a few weeks. I actually have a bone to pick with you. So we were in. You go first.
I know it's your name.
Yeah.
So I'm wrong. Yeah. But you definitely say Colin McGuigan.
Don't I just say it so fast? It's Colin McGuigan. It just sounds like that because of my Belfast accent, I think.
Right, pick the bone then, sorry.
So we were in LA a couple of weeks ago. You probably don't even know you do this, but I suspect you do know that you don't. And I've been running around like crazy at the end of the night. After annoying you at the beginning of the night, and I said, Frank, can we get 5 minutes, mate? And he said, mate, honestly, I'm up to fucking high dough here. I can't do it. And I said, okay, mate. I turn around, no joke, 30 seconds later, I'm not going to name the outlet, but you're doing an interview with another outlet.
Yeah,
Explain yourself.
They hadn't pissed me off that night.
Is that what it was, truthfully?
No.
It was, wasn't it?
No, I promise you it wasn't. I'm not like that.
That was the one time you've done me in like that. When I needed you most at that point, too.
You didn't need me most though, did you? I mean,
I
it
could've
wasn't
done with
like
you.
Make an interview. Look, an interview with Frank Smith is not make or break for the IFL numbers. Let's be honest.
It was a great time, though, and you let me down. It was the first time in this relationship you've ever let me down.
But look, your first person.
And look at the person who's came all the way from the UK for this Pacheco show. Respect IFL.
Respect, but you know that's why I'm here with you now. So.
Frank, let's talk a little bit about Pacheco first of all. Massive stage, been with you from the start of his career. Got to the point now where he's headlining his own show at his hometown. How big is this for Diego Pacheco?
Yeah, look, massive. As you say, we believe Diego Pacheco can go all the way. He's still very young. He's been with us since he was 17 years old. Started out in those early days, and to see the journey we've been on and where we believe he can go to, like there's no end to this. You know, he's already ranked #1 with the WBO, so will be a mandatory there in the super middleweight division. He had a tough fight last time out, and I think, you know, Seleki's going to give him even more experience, especially as we look to drive up him through the rankings and into those big fights. He needs those fights to gain experience. The last one would have given him that, and this one will as well. You know, like I say, Seleki's been in there with the best, and, you know, he's going to learn a lot on Saturday night as well. But it's great to be back in LA with him. We saw when we brought him to the YouTube theatre, that was last November, I think it was. So 3 fights in 9 months, second time headlining in his hometown. You know, we believe he can go all the way. But he's got a tough test ahead of him on Saturday.
What's the capacity of this arena, and what are you likely to have for Diego Pacheco? Obviously, expecting probably not a sellout for a venue like this, but what is the capacity here?
We're expecting about 5,000 or 6,000 people on Saturday night, which is a great audience, great undercard as well. You know, he's building a great profile for himself. You know, not every seat is going to be full, but it takes time, and we're building him, and we're excited about what the future holds. And it's a special venue as well. I remember actually driving in earlier. This is where Kell Brook won his world title, which feels like forever ago when he fought Sean Porter. What was that, like 9 years ago, something like that?
9, 10 years.
You know, and an amazing setup, amazing location. So excited to see it, you know, with a great audience in there on Saturday night. And like I say, it's all part of the building process for Diego Pacheco. Not enough US fighters are being built in their hometowns, and we believe, like I say, Diego's going to go all the way.
I want to ask you about the IBF situation first of all, because obviously, you know, Canelo's been stripped. What's the situation? Do you try and move Diego Pacheco in the mandatory position?
Look, he's #1 ranked with the WBO already. You know, Canelo Alvarez is fighting. He's fighting Edgar Berlanga, who's his mandatory as well, with the WBA on September 14th. You know, look, Canelo's in a position where he's going to pick his fights. You know, he's fought everyone in the sport. I think Canelo Alvarez isn't going to be around forever, not in a bad way, but as in there's going to get to a point where he's fought everyone and he goes, this is my time, you know, and I'm done now. And that might be a year away, it might be 2 years away, 3 years away. But when you think about Diego Pacheco's age and where he already is, the position he's in, he's going to be there to fight. Whether it is Canelo Alvarez or it's to fight for a vacant belt, that opportunity is going to be there for him. So I'm excited about, you know, that's not far away now with him.
I got a text message last night from Jason Quigley, who said, tell Pacheco I want him next. I then relayed that message to Jose Benavidez yesterday, and he said that there was discussions before this fight, but that's the fight that he wants next, to measure Diego where he is, considering, you know, Quigley give Berlanga a great fight, and now Berlanga's going to fight Canelo. Do you think naturally that's a fight that might be for Diego next if he doesn't get the IBF shot?
Possibly, yeah. Look, I don't think he's going to get the shot next. I'm being completely honest with you. But when you look at then the names he's called out, he did an interview earlier this week. He's talking about Bazinian. That was a fight we actually tried to make here. I think would have been a great fight. Talking about Mbili as well, another fight we tried to make here, and then Berlanga being the other one as well. Look, I think Berlanga against Pacheco, that was a fight we'd spoken about before as well. So they're all big fights to be made, and the right kind of stepping stones he needs as well if he's going to go to the places we believe he can go to.
Following on from that, there's been a lot of discussion about Norman boots. Some people are saying that Matchroom are bringing boots and it's back to Philadelphia the first week in November. First of all, can you confirm or deny that?
Well, that's what we're working towards. The second weekend of November, I think it's November 9th. That is a date we're working towards to bring Jaron Ennis back to Philadelphia. What an atmosphere the first time round when we went there at the Wells Fargo. That was just with, 10 weeks, something like that. So we're building his profile. He's delivered a night like he did there, and an unbelievable night, and a great performance after so long out the ring. So it makes a lot of sense to go back there. So hopefully some news soon on that. But that is definitely the focus for us.
What is the situation with Norman? Because they've been going around saying that they haven't received an offer. Have they received an offer?
Multiple offers, and the reality is outpricing themselves is the truth. And I actually said to Eddie earlier, no disrespect, but he's not a name in the sport. He's not someone that you're going to pay over the odds for to get across, because no one's really ever heard of him, is the truth. I don't think it's a fight that's going to happen. Our focus is on Jaron Ennis, keeping him busy, and that's what we're aiming to do. We've done everything we can to try and make that fight, but I don't think we'll see that fight. Like I say, probably the key is doesn't really want to fight Jaron Ennis and outprice himself for that reason.
If not Norman, who's it going to be?
Working through it now. You've got the situation as well with the IBF. He's got the mandatory against Karen. That's a possibility as well. So we're working through it all now. We wanted to make the Norman fight, but it's just not going to happen. So now we switch and focus on what's next. And yeah, look, the IBF situation is there as well that we have to deal with too.
Situation with Conor Benn, where are we at? Are we finally going to come to an end?
As soon as we are coming to an end, or we've come to an end, I think everyone will know. It's one of those, like anything within this sphere, within a legal matter, it takes time. And sometimes it takes more time than you originally thought it would take. That's ongoing, but, it's ongoing every day. And his team are working through it. So as soon as there's news, no one wants to get him out more than us. No one wants to get him active more than us. So we're just waiting for that news to be able to do so.
Eubank Benn beginning of 2025, Frank?
Look, it's a fight I've spoken about a million times. I think it's the natural fight. I think it makes the most amount of sense. It's a huge fight, a huge fight for British boxing. Probably one of the biggest that can be made. So I'd love to see it, but I've spoken about it so much, I'd rather not talk about it, and then people say, oh, you keep saying the same thing. Naturally the fight that we want to make. So let's see.
Your relationship with Ben Shalom have any effect on that?
No. Chris and his team can do their own dealings. That was the whole deal. I think that was the whole reason of a partnership, is that they're going to do the deals that make the most sense for them, and they're going to deal with it directly. But again, I've spent probably too much of my time reacting to questions about individuals over the course of my lifetime of doing these interviews, not just Ben, but other people, and it sort of has a negative impact in terms of people thinking that that's all you talk about, when actually it's a headline that people then take when asked a question. So, our relationship hasn't changed, but it doesn't ever, as I've said a million times, I'll never stop doing business with someone. But I'm not going to keep giving headlines on questions that get asked that makes it look like I'm the one who's sort of creating these things.
What do you make of the whole Azim and Eubank situation, where it's still not been announced? Adam Azim hinted yesterday that he is going to announce a fight today, but we haven't heard that. What do you make of that whole situation, and do you believe that fight isn't going to happen then?
Look, I'm very close with Harlem. Got a great relationship with Harlem, and I speak to him very often. I think, Harlem was in for that fight, but at the same time, Harlem's in a stage of his career where he has to care about himself. He's not like someone who's lost a load of fight. Harlem's got a huge name. He's got the Eubank name. It's bigger than Adam Azim's name, is the reality. And Harlem's got to focus on his own career. So that doesn't mean just waiting around sticking for Adam Azim. Harlem's career is not determined by Adam Azim. No disrespect to Adam Azim, he's a brilliant fighter. He's got a huge future and shown amazing talent. He's sort of lost that momentum because he's been out the ring, but I don't think you'll see Harlem and Adam Azim fight next. But that's not because Harlem's scared of a fight. It's because Harlem is, and rightly so, focused on his own career rather than waiting around for someone else. If that makes sense to you.
I want to ask you a question. I don't mean any disrespect by this, but a lot of people will say that Matchroom's focus on the UK scene has kind of dwindled a little bit in the last 12 months. Over the past few days, we've seen Frank Warren announce numerous signings. We haven't seen a lot from Matchroom recently in terms of UK fighters, and we haven't seen a lot of UK shows. For the UK fighting fans who are maybe watching this interview that want to know what Matchroom's ideas are for UK fights going forward, how often are we going to see in this last quarter Matchroom out in the UK? Because really, we haven't seen a fight since, I believe, Fisher Babbage in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, people sort of can pick and choose how they want to position things in a way, if that makes sense. In terms of, August 24th was supposed to be Jack Castro against Regis Prograis. Unfortunately, out of all of our control, that had to get delayed. We don't want shows to be cancelled. We want to do shows. September 28th was supposed to be Dalton Smith challenging Fernandez for the European title. That's not happening. We're working on something else there. The August date then becomes the October date. So, there's been unfortunate things which have sort of stood in the way, and sometimes a narrative and a picture can then be painted and go, "Oh, you haven't done a show since here," and there's reasons behind that. So we're focusing on September 28th and announcing something there and keeping the fighters out. Like I see the responses as well, people going, "Oh, this is a joke," and it's like, well, fighter's injured. That's the sport we're in. That's the unfortunate truth of the sport we're in. We're a sport that's talent led. And if the talent gets an injury, it's out of our control. But we're focused on delivering big shows. Like I say, we've rescheduled the Jack Castro. What is that? The Jack Castro Regis Prograis for October 26th. It's a massive fight. I believe that's a massive fight. Probably one of the biggest fights in the UK in terms of when you think about the stature and the names. We had Josh Taylor against Jack Castro earlier in the year. We're working hard to make Sonny Edwards against Galao Yafai as a headline show. So we as ever are committed in making shows. And like I say, we've had some unfortunate things in the last few months, but our commitment to the UK market hasn't gone anywhere and won't go anywhere. It's the market we started in and will always be important to us. So we're working hard to get things going. Look, and there's a big change in the boxing landscape as well. When you then look at the Saudi Riyadh season events and the amount of talent them fighting on Riyadh season cards, whether that be in LA, whether that be in Riyadh or on the London show, you look at those cards, there's undercard fights, numerous undercard fights, which could be main events.
Yeah, and my question to that would be then, what do you do with the regular undercard fighters? So, for example, the prospects coming through, or maybe the guys who aren't at world level yet, how do you keep them active? Because right now, there's probably a lot of fighters that are knocking your door down saying, Frank, I haven't been out in 6 months. What do you do then?
No, that's our job to do. We've got obligations to deliver for fighters, and that's what we're working through, to keep the schedule active amongst everything that's going on. It's great for the sport of boxing, what's going on right now. But then you have to manage things around that, and you have to evolve and change as well, and make sure you're delivering top quality content. You can all point fingers at different promoters and create narratives of things and say this person hasn't even got a show announced. So I'm relaxed in a sense of I know we're focused on what we need to do, and we're working hard in the background, and the UK will never fall away for us as a market. It will always be the focus for us, and we've got big plans in the pipeline.
This will come out tomorrow, and Fisher will be announced as fighting at the Copper Bosch on the 20th of September. Maybe I'm out of turn saying that, but I think that's going to be the announcement tomorrow. Who's going to land on that undercard?
It will be the undercard that you saw on September 28th. Again, we'll announce that, and people go, oh, and it's like, well, what? It's tough because if we didn't do a show, people would be like, oh, you're not giving boxers activity. Then we're keeping all the fighters that were on that show active. Rhiannon Dixon against Terry Harper. Peter McGrail's on that show as well. Like a load of talent that we're keeping active, and still a great show. It's not got the headline it had, but unfortunately the headline it had is injured, out of everyone's control. So again, it goes back to the piece of painting a narrative of, it's not, we would love for it to have been in Sheffield. We sold 5,000 odd tickets, we saw great momentum with Dalton Smith last time out, great atmosphere, and we wanted to carry that on. Injury, unfortunate. We have to move on. We have to plan otherwise. So, yeah, that's the focus. Get that show announced. Got October 26th after that in the UK. Working on, as I say, Edwards against Yafai. I'm confident that we can make that happen. And then we've got Monaco as well, which we announced, which will feature British talent as well.
Will the British talent headline in Monaco?
Possibly. It's something we're looking at right now.
Dalton Smith, when will he face Fernandez then?
He's just going through. He's got various scans that he's waiting for the reports back on, and as soon as we got those, we'll have a date. We'll have a date ready for him. So he's just waiting for a few more details from his medical perspective. But yeah, as soon as he's fit and able, we'll work to get him out there. He's a massive star. I think he's shown in that last fight the level he's at and where he can go to. So for us, he's someone we're very focused on. So as soon as we can get him back out active, that'll be the key.
Leigh Wood, someone that's kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit because no one's really been speaking about him. In an interview I done with you maybe about 2 months ago, you said that you were having conversations with him. How did those conversations go, and what's the situation with Leigh Wood?
We might have made him proposals. The one we focused on for a while was the Josh Warrington fight. I don't think he felt like the figures at it, worked for him. And that's up to him. That's for him to decide. But we have to run a business at the same time. And that's, as with anyone in this business, you're not just doing it for fun. You need to make money. Otherwise, it would all be pointless and we wouldn't be here. And I don't think he agreed necessarily with the numbers we were looking at. And that's for him to decide. Obviously, he's been inactive since then. So it's about, should he have taken that opportunity? Maybe. That's not really for me to say. Is
he still with Matchroom promotion?
We've worked with him for many years, so we'd love to continue that relationship. But again, it has to make sense. I think he'll be looking about what's the best opportunity for him, and rightly so. He's in the latter part of his career in terms of he's been in the sport a long time. He's probably not looking to carry on for 5 years. The next few fights, he'll want to capitalise. And there was much talk about whether it was Nottingham Forest being his last fight as well, even from himself. So he'll want to
Conlon rematch?
Possibly, yeah. Look, I think Conlon's got to come back and have. I've been talking. I spoke to Mick. He wants to come back, but he's probably got to get a win before he has that type of fight. Is the reality. So, let's see. Anything's possible. I'm not writing anything off, but we tried to make fights. It hasn't worked. It's not his fault. If you get what I'm saying, he's in the right to make his decision and do what's best for him. So, but I'm not saying it's not possible in the future to do something.
Will you be coming back to Belfast anytime soon? We've seen a lot of talk about Crocker Donovan. November, maybe?
That's a fight. Look, Crocker Donovan's agreed. It's just a case of trying to find suitable venues. And unfortunately, in Belfast, it's tough for some reason. I don't know why. It seems very tough to do that. But that's a fight we want to see. It's a great fight. And I want to really see that in Belfast, even if it means taking a little bit longer to do it. I know it's not ideal, but I want to see that happen in Belfast. So hopefully soon.
Do you think that you'll be back in Belfast before December, or unlikely?
I doubt it because of the venues.
So not this side of Christmas?
I don't think so. But something we're working through now.
Okay, and further on from that, Dublin possibility maybe before Christmas, or unlikely again?
Honestly, Dublin's a tough one. It's expensive. It's one of the most expensive places in the world to do an event. Honestly, I can't tell you how much money it costs to do a show in Dublin. And you have to do a show that then is big enough to generate the revenues, like what we did with Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron twice. You have to deliver those kind of events in order to do it, because it is double the cost of doing a show in London, for example, to do a show in Dublin. So, really the only person right now who can headline in Dublin and make it work is Katie Taylor. Hopefully in time the likes of Gary Cully, can build into a position to do that. But right now they're not in a position to do that. So I don't think Dublin right now.
Last one from me, Frank. AJ Dubois, we're only a few weeks out now. Have you spoke to AJ recently, and how's he feeling in the build-up to this?
Yeah, last night. He's great. He's very chilled, very calm. He knows what he needs to do, and he's been on this stage. I think when you look at AJ's career, what he's done throughout his career, he's been there, he's done it. This isn't going to faze him in any way, and he's ready. I think Dubois has got a lot of pressure on his shoulders because he's going to walk out there in front of that audience and think, oh my God, don't get me wrong, he had the Usyk fight, but this is just another level. In terms of the fight week, everything around it as well. And I think AJ's so calm, composed, and in the form of his life as well. Daniel Dubois had a great win against Filip Hrgovic, but he's not been in with Anthony Joshua, and I think Anthony Joshua was going to knock Daniel Dubois out.
Early?
Hopefully.
Frank Smith will catch up tomorrow. Appreciate it, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.